Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tony Holowitz, and I want to talk to you a little bit more about Knowtifier. So, I have opened up Knowtifier by double clicking on the Knowtifier icon. And when I do that, I come to this point. Now, once I come here, I want you to observe that I've chosen my database. I've also put in my username and my password. So, at this point, I have to log in. Once I log in, you're going to see that I've set up some things in Knowtifier right here, some steps. And what I've done is I've set up a couple reminders. One is a 1-day reminder of a meeting, and one is a 1-hour meeting reminder. So when I use this, a client, when I've scheduled a meeting, is going to get a reminder 1 day ahead that we've got a meeting tomorrow, and then 1 hour again. And I find this is a good tool because it makes sure that people don't forget about our meeting. And it happens, and then it's awkward because, you're dealing with a client and you don't want to be a bad guy. But the reality is I can never get that hour or that time back. So I want to make sure that we hold it because as a consultant, as someone who's a teacher and works a lot of times on an hourly basis, I can't get that hour back. So this is a good way to use Knowtifier. Now, the thing about Knowtifier that I find so intriguing is there's so many things you can do with it that it's really wide open and it's open to your imagination. So what I'm going to do more than try to teach you every aspect of Knowtifier, I'm going to try to create some examples of things you can do with it. So when you start with Knowtifier, it's almost like you got to think backwards a little bit. And when I say that, I want to take you inside this 1-day reminder. And I'm going to click on Edit. And as I go inside to edit this, you'll notice that Knowtifier has some things we can do with it. It has the ability to send reports when you're using a tool from Keystroke called Reports for Act. You can also do a remote database sync notice. So if a database hasn't synced, this isn't something that most of my clients would use. This is what I'm using right now. The activity being a meeting or a call, whatever you want to do, can send out an email alert or reminder. It can also email some ACT reports. It can also work with activity workflow and email notices. So an email notice could be something like a notice for a birthday or a notice for a subscription expiring. So there's all kinds of ways you can use this. Now, the thing that I feel strongly about is a lot of this stuff isn't really intuitive or descriptive. You don't really get, in my opinion, what this stuff can do until it's laid out for you and someone shows you how to use it with a lot of examples. So that's why I'm going to focus more on examples instead of showing you exact specifics, because I think each person is unique. And not only that, there's a little bit of a catch-22 with using Knowtifier that I'm going to talk about more in another tutorial. So for now, this is the activity email alert. I'm just going to click on next because we're just editing this. So here's my 1-day reminder. So let me talk to you a little bit about this. When you want to use a reminder like this, what you need to think of first is, wait a minute, what do I want to say? And where do I put the information that I want to say inside of Knowtifier? So Knowtifier comes with its own editor for templates. If I click on this, I can choose a template. So it will navigate inside. I'm going to click Cancel. I'm going to click on Template Editor. It's going to open up the editor, and when it opens it up, you're going to see it's basically blank. There's nothing in here. Now this allows you to insert fields from ACT right inside the template, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this, and here's my 1-day meeting reminder, and I'm going to click Open. And when you get in here, you're going to see that, well, this sort of is confusing. It's, what does this mean? So in another tutorial, I'm going to talk a little more specifically about working with the template editor and setting up, and I'd be more than happy to share these templates with you if you reach out to me. So through time, I'll have these templates, but if you reach out to me, I'll make them available to you so you can just copy and paste them into your own template, and I'll explain them later in another tutorial in a little more detail. So the reason I'm showing you this is because you got to think backwards a little bit. You got to think about, what do you want to say? How do you create the template that you want to send out? So I'm going to close this. I'm going to click Next because the template will be selected. How many users do we have in our database? We have to deal with that. Also, what kind of activity types do we want to send reminders out for? I don't send reminders out for calls because in my mind what I do is if the call is relevant enough, I sort of suggest to my client it's more of a meeting. A 15-minute meeting, and I schedule it as a meeting versus a call, even though I know I'm going to pick up the phone and call that person. I'm going to click Next. So in here, we set the trigger time. So how do we want to trigger this? Now, this is the 1-day meeting reminder, so I triggered it 1 day before the activity start time. And it comes not only to the user, it goes to them, but it also comes to me to remind me, oh yeah, you got a meeting. And I like doing this because it also gives me insights or reminds me or acknowledges the fact that I got the reminder, therefore the client got the reminder. And it's just sort of a good way to do it in my opinion. I'm going to click on Next. We can fill in the subject, my name and the meeting reminder. We can CC people or BCC people, and we can choose which email addresses we want to send it to. So maybe if you're in a business where maybe a person has a business and a personal email address, it can go to more than one email address. I'm going to click Next. It will also record a history that the email was sent. So that's another nice feature about that. And in a nutshell, that's it. That's how we create that reminder. So you can take these reminders, you can do the first one, and then you can save it and modify it for a different kind of setting. So a lot of good things you can do with this, and I think that gives you a good example of the way this can work and some of the things you can think about. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tony Holowitz. Thank you very much.